I'm Grace Horn, and you're listening to Mark of the Maker.
All right, there's our friend Grace Horn, who is at the Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational. We're going to do a PNWCI wrap-up show. This is episode 120 of Mark of the Maker. I'm Mark Steiner, and we have some guests with us, so we're going to get into that in a minute. Thank you, Grace, for leading us off. Let's make sure we get the crew here. We have Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Dude, classiest intro ever, right?
Yep, totally. We have Mr. Michael Birch.
I am here.
And we have Mr. Tom Crine. Oh,
hey,
that's
guys.
Right. we
I'm
don't.
Lame.
We don't have Mr. Tom Crine. He's on vacation.
And love you, buddy.
There you
Have
go.
fun and stay safe.
That's right. I think he's on his way back, right? We should have had him record live from the car. All hopped up on gummies and Red Bull or Starbucks espresso or whatever the fuck he drinks. Okay, so that's us. We're here. We're going to talk to our friends here in just a minute. Let's take care of some business first. Sean, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off. First off, I'd like to thank all of our friends at Patreon. You guys are patient. We enjoy your enthusiasm, and we appreciate everything you do to help keep this show moving forward. Thank you all so much. And for you guys listening, if you would consider going over to Patreon and maybe pledging $1 or $2 for us every month, we would appreciate that. The show doesn't pay for itself, really. This is a labor of love, and anything you guys give will be used for the show alone. It's not like we're taking this cash and going on fancy trips or throwing sexy parties. So if you would consider going over to Patreon and just searching for Mark of the Maker and maybe throwing $1 or $2 our way, we'd appreciate it. And thank you for your time in the matter.
No sexy parties that Sean will admit to anyway.
Make denials and counter accusations, buddy.
That's how it works, baby. Okay, we also want to say thank you to our friends at Giant Mouse. Giant Mouse Knives, they're giantmouse.com. They have a very interesting Instagram to follow. They got all kinds of lifestyle stuff going on. They got deals with a bunch of different brands and companies and cool stuff. So go check them out. Also great knives from 3 of our friends. And one of them that Jim posted recently, Jim Worth, is the Ace Bleeker, which I absolutely love. I got to get one from him. It is slim and stabby dude. They have a version with carbon fiber handles. I bet it's really light. Magna cut blade. Super cool and not terribly priced. So definitely go check them out. And their knives, the Ace Bleeker, is very cool. It's
Man, and they're a bang for the buck. I mean, damn.
Yes. Real nice stuff. So thank you, boys, for your help. And go check out giantmouse.com.
All right. Next up, we're going to give a shout out to our friends Bob and Sue's Terzuola. If you want to head over to terzuola.net and check out all of their offerings, you won't regret it. You can get in on the newest ATCFOG drop. You can check out Bob's Sharp Laugh series, which there's a link there so you can watch the first 3 episodes for free. You can get on the Shop Talk waiting list if that's your cup of tea. Or you can check out the Knife Wife podcast with Suze and Bob, and then a number of makers and their significant others, which is a fantastic idea and an excellent podcast. So head over to terzuola.net and tell those guys I sent you. And that's TERZUOLA.net.
We also have some support from our friends at Knife Joy. It's knifejoy.com. They're a dealer. Our friend Jade is there. He goes out to shows and brings back cool stuff in addition to production knives. They have a bunch of exclusive stuff as well. They have a bunch of Spydercos actually right now. I really like one of them is they have like a Manic 2 and a Para 3 in this super, super fluorescent yellowy green handles. I really like those. So definitely go check out knifejoy.com. They have also a newsletter to stay up to date on what's going on, and they have something called Knife Joy Plus that gets you early access to special drops and exclusive things. So definitely check them out. Appreciate your support, folks.
All right, and last but certainly not least, I'd like to talk about one of our newest sponsors, Paladin 33. These guys make some of the best tactical gear on the market. I love their nylon bags, and right now, my big thing is their Outback Mark III fanny pack. And if you'd have told me before I got this that I would be a fanny pack guy, I would have probably punched you in the mouth. But now... But now, man, it's a great product. It's really well thought out. It's incredibly well made, and they look great. And so head over and check out what those guys have to offer. Plus, they have the cool new tiger stripe that Andrew Wiedemann's put together, which is one of the coolest camo patterns to come down the pipe in quite some time. Just a fantastic take on the classic Vietnam era tiger stripe. So head over to paladin33.com and tell them Sean sent you.
They got all kinds of collabs and all kinds of stuff going on. It's very cool.
Oh, dude. Now, I mean, like, if you need rifle cases, top notch, just all kinds of gear. You got to go and look for it. I mean, they got padded knife pouches, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Welcome to the team, Paladin 33, and we appreciate your support.
Yeah, very much appreciated, and love your gear.
All right. So we're going to talk Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational Wrap-Up. I might say PNWCI because Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational is a mouthful. But we're going to do that. And our friends, Nick Rolfe is here. Welcome, Nick.
Yes, sir. What's up, fellas?
Back to the show.
Hey,
It's like your
buddy.
15th time on Mark of the Maker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You may have exceeded the Nick Rossi quota so far, which is substantial.
Feather, baby.
That's right.
Too much Nick ain't even enough.
Team
This is
men
what
with
I'm
beautiful
saying.
hair.
Hey.
Also, we have Mr. Billy Cho.
Hey. I had to take Sean's intro.
Right. Well played. All right. So we've done
You can
this.
send the royalty check. You got mine.
Yeah, right.
You got it. You got
Friends
it.
and family, motherfucker. Friends and
Right. No fees, baby. No fees.
It's all about percentages.
That's right. That's right. All right. So we've done this before, right? Wrapped up after the show. The show's changed over. How many years have you guys been doing it now?
It's our third one.
Third one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's evolved a bit, right? And so we wanted to talk about exactly how things went. There was some crazy twists and turns in the story right up front, right? The whole crazy travel nightmare happened, right? The cloud flare, I don't even know what to call it.
Outage.
Kerfuffle. Let's call it a
blue
kerfuffle.
screen of death.
Yeah.
Kerfluffle,
Yeah.
I like
Been
that.
real.
So yeah,
e-
a bunch of people got
even-
hung up.
Yeah, even building up to that, I forgot that Texas had that outage for like a week. So we had a few makers from Texas not able to finish their knives because they had no power. So that was pretty crazy too. So
Yeah.
it was just a combination of random freak Mother Nature events. But yeah, because of that, we probably lost a decent amount of exhibitors. I would say probably about maybe 15 or 20 makers didn't make it.
Wow.
And the ones that did make it, some of them have wild stories about how it took them 35 hours to get there, or another maker showed up at the after party on the beach. So he wasn't even there for the show, but he was already on his way, just traveling from one flight to another. So it was just took him, I don't even know how many hours to get to the show, and it ended up being at the after party. So, yeah, it was crazy. And I mean, that it was, first off, I started getting texts that Thursday from makers saying, oh no, all flights are canceled. I'm stuck halfway. I have no idea how I'm going to get there. It was so much that I basically said, we have a maker group chat on Facebook. And so I had to basically let those guys know, hey, I'm going to have to silence my phone and try to get some sleep because this is just so overwhelming. And
Yeah.
it was that Thursday night. And so it was chaos. And I was freaking out because obviously I wanted to have a good, make sure that people have a good experience at the show. And and makers, are one of the biggest reasons why people are traveling to see all these some of their favorite makers. So it was crazy, and if it literally happened a day before or day after, it would have been fine, But it just happened to be just random freak crash event, and a lot of people kind of suffered from it. So, and of course, a lot of attendees couldn't make it either. So,
yeah. Do you have any idea based on? I guess not, right? Because there's always no shows at some number. As far as attendees go, I wonder how many people who were attendees couldn't come. Had to be at least as many as there were makers, right?
Oh,
probably multiples of
more.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a box in the truck of packets that we put together of people that weren't able to make it.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone through and counted it yet, but yeah, significantly more than the makers.
Right. I think Andrew Boedeman got hung up in that whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah, big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you did.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, the travel thing was wild. We managed to get out there because we came early, but but yeah, in retrospect, I'm like, man, I'm glad we came early because we didn't have to deal with any of that, which was good. I was afraid we would get hung up on the way home, but we actually managed to get home okay. We a little bit late getting out, but no real drama, which is good.
And I have a crazy story from Brian Efros. And so he was traveling and he went through security, got his boarding pass, was waiting at the gate. Then he got a message saying that his flight was canceled. So what he did was he actually tracked his bag. He had an air tag in there, or I think there's some kind of an app where you can track your bag on certain airlines. And he saw that it went into some random airplane. And so he just followed that bag to the airplane and went to the gate and said, "My bag's on this flight. Can I get on?" And he said, "Yeah." And so somehow he went from no flight to just randomly walking on an airplane because his bag was on there, and there was like one seat left.
Crazy.
It was so crazy. Like no notification, no saying your flight's been changed or anything. He just followed his bag and got on that flight and made it to Oregon. It was insane.
Yeah.
That seems about right for Brian Efros.
Yeah,
That
right.
seems about right for that cat, man.
Yeah.
Things just work out in his favor.
It's true.
They get serious about that bag on the plane, but you not being on the plane, right? To the point of stopping a flight and sending somebody into the hull and digging it out
Absolutely.
if the person's not there.
Yeah.
But you got to imagine that all these makers were flying and got stuck halfway, and they have no clue where their check-in bags are that have knives inside there.
Right.
So it was stressful for makers for sure on multiple levels. Some of them traveled with children. Nick from Maverick Concepts, I think he said he flew with like a 2-month-old and a 6-year-old, and it took him like 35 hours to get to Oregon.
God.
Good Lord.
So crazy. He got in like 5 a.m. of the show. So it sucked big time for a lot of people. And so I just felt horrible, but what can you do? It's like some 1 in a million chance,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Man, traveling with little kids is hard in the first place. And then throwing a whole bunch of, we're going to have to hang out at the airport for 30 hours or 20 hours or whatever.
Yeah. With the infants,
Everybody's most favorite
crazy.
place to hang out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right.
But
So
other than that, our attendance numbers are still higher than they were last year. So
yeah, even with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
but that was definitely a stressful aspect. And it's funny because I was talking to Richard Rogers about it, and I was like, man, I was just so disappointed that, this happened. And, I was nervous that it was going to ruin our show, which it ultimately didn't. But it ruined it for some people, obviously. But Richard was telling me how he was invited to a show in Boston, and basically it was when that Boston Marathon bombing happened.
Oh,
And so-
yeah.
They shut everything down, and there was maybe 20 people at that show.
Wow.
And so and I guess maybe 20 people bought whatever they wanted, but it was essentially a pretty big show with a bunch of makers and only 20 attendees.
Oh, wow.
Because they locked everything down. And so I was like, okay, it's our show. It wasn't that bad. So, but, ultimately I feel the pressure of wanting to have, wanting everyone to have a good time, both makers and attendees. So it was just very nerve-wracking with all that going down.
Yeah. Boston would be a great place for a show. That must have been a long time ago.
I mean, that bombing was what? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe 10 years ago.
The year of the bombing, you could figure it out. Interesting. Wow. Well, so we talked about the travel drama. Let's talk about the crowd. Like you said you had higher attendance this year than last year, even with all the travel complication.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think a lot of it was also that it was our first year doing it at Seaside last year, and people were kind of skeptical because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to fly into Portland and then drive an hour and hour plus, and it just I'm good." And the report was that it was such an amazing show and how quaint Seaside is. So, and that a lot more people were more interested in coming this year. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Billy and I have talked about is kind of the identity that we like about this show, and kind of I think is starting to catch on a little bit, is that we're looking at this as like, yeah, it's a night show. It's kind of a big little show, but we're also trying to kind of make it like a destination thing where you come with your family and maybe you take a week vacation and come see a part of the world that a lot of people haven't been to. And I mean, Mark, you could probably be a testament to that because you've never been out here. So, I'd flip the tables on you in a random place in this podcast and ask you what your experience was coming out to a relatively, you haven't been out here before. So what was it like for you to see that beautiful drive and see this part of the world?
No, it was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, Michael had raved about it before, and Sean about what a cool experience it was and how pretty it was. And so, yeah, if I say adventure to Amy, she's all in. So it was like, yeah, she said, let's go. And we were going to go after, but we had a pending grandbaby coming, and she wanted to. So she's,
by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. So she's like, oh, we should go before. So I think we were out 11 days. 12 days. We were there for quite a while. So we went into Portland first and stayed there and took in Portland. That was super cool and interesting and fun. We had a great time there. And then came over to the coast, and yeah, it's absolutely stunning. And if you like to be outdoors or do outdoor stuff, hiking, beach, surfing if you're up for it, whatever, like there's all kinds of crazy stuff to do, and it's fantastically beautiful. So yeah, we very much look forward to coming back. And I think I would offer that as advice to people who want to bring their family or their significant other or whatever, right? Take a couple extra days, right? And most places you go for a show, there's some cool stuff to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you just get outside a little bit and go away from the show, it can be super, super nice. We've been doing it for years. Like when we would go to the Vegas show, right? We would tie in. We went up to the Grand Canyon, and we went to the other direction over into California, and went to Mammoth, and went to Yellowstone, and all kinds of stuff. And hooking a adventure trip in is an absolute winner. So we were sold on that whole idea, and yeah, Oregon's absolutely stunning. So yeah, we loved it.
Yeah, Nick and I have been here for probably over around a decade now, right? It's getting pretty close, and we still haven't explored all like the crazy things, that you can do in Oregon. All the hot springs, or there's a thing where you can go down an elevator and go into a cave full of seals and all kinds of like crazy random things. And obviously you can do the crazy Portland things and all the crazy food places to eat and all that, but there's just so many different things to do in Oregon, even where, down where Luke lives, where it becomes more desert, and there's a lot of, fly fishing and all kinds of crazy other outdoorsy stuff out there. And yeah, it's such a gorgeous place, and it's like I'm hard pressed to find anywhere in the States that's as beautiful as Oregon gets, and so yeah, that was the whole idea. We're just doing a one short show and just having everyone just have a nice vacation, get out of the heat, which a lot of people did, and enjoy the 63-degree weather at the coast, right, where you have to bring a hoodie or a jacket, and in the summertime, and so. And if you don't like the coast, then you can go to the mountains. A lot of people didn't experience Mount Hood either, right? The other way, where it's like year-round skiing, and it's just a good reset for people. That's one of the things I wanted to do. Essentially, making the show for makers is having them come out, bring their families, and have a nice reset. And so I thought it was pretty awesome. Where a lot of people came a week before, or a lot of makers stayed a week after,
right?
And I would shoot them a message like, "Oh, you're still here? That's crazy." And so, but it was kind of difficult to make it a destination, show where, because all the, if you're traveling from the East Coast and you take a, I don't know, 6-7 hour flight here, and then I understand you don't want to drive further,
Yeah.
But it's a good reset, and the drive really isn't that bad. It's actually pretty gorgeous. You go through some amazing woods. So so come on down next year.
I was going to ask, does Billy get a little kick from the Oregon Tourism Board with the whole, it's the most beautiful place in the country? Come on, man.
Let us work, brother. Let us work. Come on, man.
I wish.
Everybody's got to get paid.
Nick does search and rescue for, Oregon. So he's
right.
He's a government dog as well.
Yeah, I've heard various plans about people intentionally wanting to get lost so they could be rescued by Nick.
Yeah, he comes in baby oiled, shirtless.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Oiled, shirtless, pack on to make the pecs pop a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Predator mask on, Predator shoulder cannon.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. And I think there's a little stigma about Portland, right? Maybe a lot of stigma about Portland. We had a great time there. We stayed in a kind of a suburb area, and it was very, very nice. We rented a little house, and we did a waterfall day. And I think this is like what Birch did, right? We did a waterfall day, and we did in our case, we did a wine day, and there's a really cool air museum, a surprisingly awesome air museum, right? We went out there and tied it into the wine day, and we did a bunch of different stuff in town, right? And we did like a weird Portland day, right?
Yeah.
Went to the art street fair thing along the river, which was super cool, right? We have a very similar, the Saturday market. We have a really similar one here in the summertime in Michigan, and so yeah, it was a great experience, and like you said, right, the difference is surprising, especially because Portland was so hot, right? 90 plus degrees or whatever, and the whole 100-degree heat wave, and then go to the coast, and it's like, I'm like, oh, this is my weather. This is perfect. It's a little chilly, and that's perfect. And it was just beautiful.
Yeah, and with all of that, this is our third year in, so. As I was saying before, I think we're kind of finding our identity now. And it's an identity that resonates with a lot of people that come out. So when they come out, they're like, oh man, okay. Yes, it's an hour plus drive from the airport, but you're driving through a beautiful the Tillamook State Forest, National Forest, which is incredibly beautiful.
Yes.
And then you're getting out to this little kitschy, quaint seaside town, literally called Seaside.
Right.
And it's got its own little throwback. It feels like that town feels like the 80s.
Totally.
It feels like the 80s there, and I think in us finding our identity with the show is enabled us between last year and this year to kind of get some things dialed in. We got together after this, talked about it. There's some things that we want to dial in again for next year, and one of the big conversations that Billy and I have had fairly frequently is, do we want to keep doing it out at Seaside?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool places in Oregon, but something about the Seaside area, first of all, the convention center is great, but it just seems to work out there, and it seems to, not to say that we wouldn't change it and do another venue sometime, but it seems to pull everything together and kind of capture. I think I think I mentioned this at the last podcast, and to me, this is a big compliment because one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we hear always about this show is the laid back vibe of the show. And to me, that's like an ultimate compliment because that means that we're doing our best to create a relaxing environment for people to come and have fun, especially people this year that got caught up in all the cyber bullshit and all that stuff, losing flights and all that. That was already an immense stress thing for all parties involved. But then to be able to come to the show and be able to come up and tell us, man, that the vibe is so relaxed and so chilled. And so that to me, that's a big compliment. And that speaks a lot to, I think, what we're trying to add to build the personality of the show.
Yeah. And I think you guys have been really successful with that, right? I've talked a bunch of times in past episodes about shows feeling stressful sometimes, right? Like there's just like, I don't know, there's a stressful energy in the room, right? There's people that are all wound up and I don't know, there's just an odd kind of buzz. And yeah, I totally got that walking into that room in the Seaside Convention Center, right? It's just very relaxed and chill. That's awesome.
Yeah, one of the things I do differently is invite firearms companies, right? Because I'm very much involved in that world. And so the firearms companies are so used to going to these weird, crazy trade shows that are very high paced and, just basically trying to get as many dealers signed up for this thing or that thing. And very much feels like Groundhog Day. That's why I don't like SHOT Show, because the first day is kind of fun, right? And then as the days go on, you're just like, this is hell. Someone kill me now, right? You don't see the sun outside ever, right? So you'll just show up to the casino and it'll just be, from morning till night. And when people go out at night, they'll go party, but you won't ever see the sun for a week. Right. And so, and all the gun companies that showed up, they're like, this was really cool. Like, oh my gosh, the people are so nice. They're so curious. They want to buy stuff. It was, so even though some of the companies like Glock, they don't necessarily sell Glocks at the show, right? But they were just having like very insightful conversations with people that wouldn't normally encounter these firearms companies directly, right? So,
right.
For example, the guy that's running the Glock booth, his name is Matt Chen. People don't realize he is the guy for Glock on the West Coast. Like from half the country on, everyone answers to this guy.
Yeah.
And he's at our show just like talking about his company's guns, right? And so I know we had Silencer Co. come this year, and Andrew, he's a good friend of mine, and I've been working and knowing him for years at Silencer Co. And he's been a part of the EDC and knife community for a number of years now. And I'm like, why don't Silencer Co. come? And he's like, all right, let's do it. So, and all those guys had a first hand experience with dealing with the EDC and knife community, and they just loved it. Like, can we please come back next year? And and so it was very eye-opening from people that aren't part of this community, seeing how a show like this runs, and how chill it was, and how much fun they had. So how generous our community is, and so but yeah, it's definitely have become a vibe, like Nick said. It's and hopefully people can see that it's definitely a passion project for us. And with all the shows that are out there, almost seems like a show every month, that we really want to set up ours apart and saying, hey, this show is not really to make money for us, right? It's so we can selfishly see our friends come to our backyard.
Yeah.
And then people can have a great time. So to give back to the knife and EDC community.
Yeah. So I know, like you said, the first time you held the show at Seaside, that was last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And, that was one of the rumbles, right? Was, it's kind of far from Portland. I didn't hear anybody say that this year. I don't know. Did you guys get any feedback from anybody on that this time around? No.
No,
Good.
not at all. Yeah, I think they were just like, oh my gosh, it was 90 out there, and now it's 63.
Yeah.
They went from wearing like no shirt to basically shorts and a hoodie. That's like the typical seaside uniform, right?
Right.
It's like at night, shorts and a hoodie.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest reasons why we moved it to the coast, because that first year we got lucky and it was like 75 degrees and people still got roasted outside when we had it at that giant, shipbuilding factory, the Zidell Yards. And because 2 weeks before that show, it was 90 degrees in Oregon. So I was like, oh no, our show is ruined. And so it was just like gambling on the weather to have it at a really cool venue in Portland. And a lot of the buildings in Portland that are really old and cool have no AC. So to have all those bodies in there, I mean, Blade Show Atlanta, I mean, how many times do you go in there and just you get a wave of a musk that can basically strip the paint off the walls, right? Right? It's like
Musk is very
factory.
Generous.
Onion factory in there. And so, and they have massive air conditioning units at a convention center like Blade, right? And so, it was like, we need to see if maybe we can always make sure we have pretty decent cool weather in the summer. So that's why we moved it to the coast, And so, yeah.
I think if people, I can see the drive being annoying if people were doing the classic knife show deal, right? Exactly. Fly in, bail immediately into the car, drive to the coast, spend the night, hit the show, maybe even fly home that night, or, that kind of stuff, right? The quick turn. This is not a quick turn show. Not to be comfortable, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there were makers that have done that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so
not everybody can take time and all that stuff, but
yeah.
But if you can,
that's why we kind of end the show a little early too, like 4 or 5-ish, so people can make it back to Portland if they need to, and things like that. So
the show was the right length of time, I thought. It felt like the right length of time for in the room, right?
Yeah.
Like there's
it was more dialed in this year with that. We definitely talked about it ahead of time and said, you know what, let's give it a hard 5 p.m. stop. But people were starting to shut down around 4 o'clock, honestly.
Yeah,
that felt really natural. That felt good.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is I keep getting, other knife show guys telling me that I should do a 2-day show. 1-day show is not enough. And I was like, no way, man.
Why?
I was like, you lose all that excitement after day 1. Nobody wants to come back day 2. I understand, like, if people's day 2 is like their day 1, like the attendees, like, where they can't make it on a Friday, they make it on a Saturday. But makers lose all their juice after like 2 hours of being there, right? And so, yeah, I think like if people are going to show up, they'll show up, right? They'll make the effort to show up. It doesn't matter if it's 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. And so I think just having it really, really condensed and fun, it leaves a lasting memory, right? When there's no downtime and people are like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm bored, I want to leave. When is this guy's lotto, right? When is this guy drawing names? Oh, he's picking tomorrow. Oh shit, I got to come back tomorrow. It's just to have it 1 day and just knock it out and have all that excitement in just that few amount of hours, I think is perfect. And that's how I wanted it to be as a maker, right? And so, last year it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours too long.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I think it's a perfect amount.
Yeah. The reasonable time frame show is a win for all of us on the podcast. Maybe not Tom, but I think we all appreciate a show that's, whatever, 5 hours long or 4 hours long or 6 hours long, that kind of time frame, and definitely not multiple days. But I don't know, maybe that's being spoiled, or maybe that's easier for people who know what they like and know what they aren't interested in, and you know what I mean? Know how to focus at a show. Maybe for newer folks, it's a different story, but I didn't get there wasn't a feel in my opinion anyway. There wasn't a feel in the room that people ran out of time. right?
Not at all.
Like you said, Nick, it had like a very natural taper at the end of that time window.
Yeah, it did. And I thought what I liked about it was right around 4:00 somewhere, like 3:45, 4:00 in there, you'd see a group of makers all kind of sitting around, catching up, talking. I was moving around with different groups, and I really liked that. When everybody was done, everybody was relaxed.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a nice, that was for me what was the nice taper of the show, is people weren't packing up and trying to get out of Dodge. Everyone was kicking their feet up and chopping it up a little bit, and I did like that. Hey, you know what I wanted to ask, Sean? I wanted to ask you, because you've been to all 3 shows. Outside of location, is there anything that you can pinpoint evolution-wise of the show for you?
No, dude, I'm afraid if I say anything, it'll botch everything up, because I like where it's at and I like where you guys are taking it.
Yeah.
I think like you said, Nick, that's a really interesting observation, right? That not everybody's packing their shit and running to the door, right? I mean, that's a testament to the feel of the show, and that's a huge win.
Yeah. What exactly? Like, I know when we were done, like, I was looking at my watch, I was like, okay, it's 5. And, like you said, everybody's still kind of milling around. There's still conversations happening, still conversation bubbles,
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so you guys had the people lined up outside thing, which seems like normal for a show anymore. But there was a pretty solid crowd out there, and there was a couple people there who were there for a couple days, right?
Billy started Friday, right? Friday night?
No,
Thursday night.
Thursday,
yeah. Yeah, it started Thursday night.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm always like, take your stinky ass home, take a shower. You don't need to do this, guys, please. But they insist, and I love those guys to death, right? I love their enthusiasm, their moxie, right?
Moxie.
And, I mean, sometimes it's contagious, right? With how excited people are. And so whenever I get exhausted and get the bags under my eyes and freaking out, I just see those guys outside, and I was like, oh, wow, they really believe in us and the show, and they're excited for it. They're excited to see their favorite maker. And so it's fuel, and whenever I see those guys that wait outside Blade for like a week earlier, I'm like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And so, but it's like every day or every show every year has been like the first time the guys lined up, I think that night around midnight.
Yep.
And then the second year, people started lining up that Friday. Yep. And then now this Thursday. So hopefully next year it won't be a Wednesday. I'm always like, please, guys, don't get me in trouble. But fortunately, the seagulls there drive everyone insane.
There you go.
They're just constantly going caw 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 all night long, and drives them crazy. Wow. So hopefully, they're like a natural deterrent to do that, because we just there's other shows going on. There's other in that venue.
Yeah, right.
And so, literally, like I think that Wednesday they were wrapping up a show for some kind of a
dance competition.
Right, for charity, something like that. So people are lining up, and God bless them, and but they do it, and they get something out of it too, right? Talking to their friends in line, and they build some kind of a bond by doing that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a total hang when we rolled up. Everybody was the vibe was good in the line. Everybody was having a good time hanging out.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to say was that we will make a change next year, because human beings are human beings. So you always have to assume that someone's going to miss the point. And we did have several people that stood out there in line forever, but bought general admission tickets, and for some reason thought that them standing in line was going to get them in when the VIP people came in. And I'm trying to be a polite individual when I talk to somebody. So I was just like, hey, come on, guys. Like, you bought the ticket that says 12 o'clock noon right on the website. So
right.
I don't know why you thought standing in line was going to get you, and I had one individual that said, so you mean I stood in line for nothing? And I was like, yeah. you did. I mean,
Right.
you're the first one at noon. You're the first guy. I'll make sure you're the first guy in at noon. How about that? But
Yeah.
there's people who paid for the VIP tickets to get in at 11 o'clock, and we have to stick to that. So we will change that next year in terms of just making that more streamlined.
The word on the street was the first guy was Kyle Heck. I look back at the thing. That's funny.
First guy in line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that week was such a blur, man. It's like I'm trying to. It took me a week plus to recover. I'm like, who was who, and
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Billy posted in the group, was notified that people started waiting in line. Apparently it's Kyle Heck. Good luck and please shower.
That's funny.
And he said, yep, I got everything. I'm going to run to the room. I can take a shower. It's all good. And Lucas Burnley says, we salute you. JB Stout says, someone bring that boy a sandwich. Yeah, that's fantastic.
That was funny.
No, go ahead.
When me and Rachel got there Friday, she's like, let's go over there and act like we don't know what's going on and be like, so what are you guys waiting on?
Right.
And when they
right.
say knife show, just clown the shit out of them. Be like, Ginsu's or what? What do you mean knife show?
Right. Yeah, it's if you had a little intel on what was going on in the days prior, you could start hitting them with the whole, are you actually waiting outside at night where there's little girls inside dancing? You can get your ass kicked.
That's true.
Please be careful.
True.
Your intentions may not be obvious.
Yeah, fortunately, we have to like notify the city, be like, please, like, let these guys do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're harmless. They're not gonna.
Right.
They're not homeless. So but it's a whole ordeal now. You know.
Yeah.
But they're super cool out there, though. The police, I've called each year and talked to the chief of police out there, and they're super cool. They're just like, yep, no problem. Just tell them they can't sleep. No sleeping as long as they're up and, as long as their eyes, they've got a homeless thing, a mandate out there, so they don't go for that. But they're like, yep, as long as they're sleeping and not causing any trouble, as long as they're not sleeping and causing any trouble, we're good to go.
Right. Well, and it's its own little subculture, like you said, right? It's cool. I think it's, applaud the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll never do it, but yeah, I get it.
Let's talk makers. So you guys had some new guys this year, right? Different people.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I have this tremendous power to invite whoever I want, right?
Wow.
I'm just kidding. But then I wanted to obviously invite some gun companies, right? Because I think they'd have fun. It'd be a good introduction for higher end firearms to this community. A lot of times guns and knives go hand in hand. And so I was like, why not? So, and then, we invited, Radian, which my former employer, right? Glock. Who else did we have there? We had, Silence Co. We had, Loophole. And there was a few others that were invited, but they couldn't make it either. But we're looking to maybe add a few more next year, or the ones that couldn't make it, hoping that they would make it as well. We invited like a night vision thermal imaging company. They couldn't make it. Chambers Custom, who I believe he's the best 1911 builder in the world. He couldn't make it either, due to some, health issues that he had to do some kind of hospital visit or whatever. But he's fine, but he's wanting to come next year. So, but not only that,
Oregon Rifle Works.
Yep, Oregon Rifle Works. Yep. But I kind of wanted to like make our show a little bit more quirky by maybe inviting things that are like not just necessarily are part of the EDC world, but maybe EDC world adjacent. And so I invited basically a custom lightsaber company, right? So so there's this company called Vader's Vault, and they basically are known to make the most amazing custom lightsabers in America. So they basically are based out of Atlanta, and they've been in the lightsaber game for a very long time. And some of their lightsabers cost upwards up to $4,000 or $5,000, I believe. So I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to have like, basically these guys are, they have their own CNC machines. They're kind of doing things a lot like, these custom flashlight companies, right? Just next level. Why not invite them and basically introduce them to this community? And so we invited them. What else? Who else did we invite that was kind of out there?
Big shout out to Adam Fando and Brian Lau. Two homies. Brian brought the watches, and Adam set up a booth doing tattoos, which was super cool. So big shout out to those two cats.
Oh, I didn't realize Brian was there.
Yep.
Yeah. We had live tattooing done by Adam. So people would contact Adam beforehand. He would just tattoo right there on the show floor. It was pretty cool. And then, people who want watches, we had Brian Lau come out, and he brought some bangers of watches and worked out, I think, a deal or two. And so, watches, tattoos, and there were some other companies that invited that couldn't make it, but it's very adjacent to the things that we like. Right. So, we do definitely had, some other knife makers as well. Let's see. Was there any that stuck out to you guys? We had trying to see here. We had Gavin Hawk come out, right? Always been a fan of Gavin Hawk, and Grant and Gavin Hawk were basically such inspirations to me when I was first starting to make knives, because they just were like the mad scientists making some crazy lockups on their folders and things like that. So invited some other material makers like the GL Hansen guy, G Carta as he calls it.
Yep. Will Stelter was there.
Yep, Will Stelter. Nice
Super
guy.
Honored to have Michael Walker come back for a second year in a row.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A big honor for us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. We had Todd Rexford show up, and I think this was like the first show that Todd did that wasn't like a crazy, invite only. Well, it was an invite only, but those other shows that are they have like a very high end dinner and things like that, kind of very limited ticket. Right. So we had Todd Rexford show up. Let's see. There's a lot of other makers that, we had, Triple Out Design show up as well. And, my biggest thing was like, oh, do I invite Triple Out Design? But I met, a lot of people didn't know that they actually have a new owner. And so, and it was a bunch of Triple Out Design fans that bought the company, which I thought was like so sick. You know what I mean? Like when you see a company struggle and it's a company that you were a big fan of and a bunch of fans buy it,
right?
And they trying to redo it to what they loved about it. It was kind of like what Cobra Kai is to the Karate Kid. So I was like, you know what? Hell yeah! You guys come out, because they were such a big part of the USN gathering, and seeing the Dauntless design by a bunch of other makers there, and you're like, oh my god, all these really cool their jackets and their pants and all their outdoor gear. And so when I talked to Noah, who is one of the new owners of Triple Out Design at New York, and he told me, and in fact he actually bought a custom gun from me like a number of years ago, even before he bought Triple Out Design, which is so weird how it came full circle. And he's like, yeah, we own Triple Out Design now. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, we're all a bunch of fans, and we're trying to revamp it. And so I was like, let's do it. So I was excited about that. Did a collaboration with them as well for that show. Oh man, we had so many new makers. JB Stout joined us again, right?
Right.
It's always good to see the Stouts. Luke Swenson unfortunately showed up. I was like, who let you? All right, I guess you can have a table in the bathroom.
Right.
And then you can basically give out the perfumes and the gum to people that and and paper towels to people who use the bathroom.
Right.
But no, we're so happy to have Luke there, and he makes killer stuff. So why wouldn't I invite him, right? So please scratch that from the record. So
in spite of your long running personal battle.
yeah. And so
Luke brought a sick little swing guard knife. That was super fun.
I gotta give a shout out also to Lucas Burnley, because he did a pop-up show.
Yes.
So what he did was he basically, there's like an antiques mall in Seaside, and he basically took his Burnley brand and just kind of took over, I think, a shop over there, and you can go there and buy like a lot of cool one-off, boutique clothing and gear from that store at Seaside. It was really cool. And so the day of the show, he's like, all right, this is our pop-up, go buy some stuff over there. And so I'm sure that antiques place was like, what the hell, where are these people coming from?
Right.
But it was super cool, and I really appreciated doing some fun, like stuff like that. It's like really fun and really basically excites all the people that have been waiting in line, so
yeah. He and I spent a little bit of time talking about that and like how that came to be and what he did and a bunch of stuff. So we'll get into that in a future episode. But yeah, that was really cool. There was a lot of interesting stuff going on. A lot of great makers. I thought the Shane Seibert, holy shit! I don't know how many knives he had. I didn't count, but it was like dozens of knives.
Shane brought the heat.
He absolutely
That's
did.
with 2 T's at the end of it. He killed it, as per usual.
Yeah, they were all fantastic. He brought a whole boatload of stuff, all coming out of that little teeny tiny shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he brought like 24 knives or something like that.
Yeah.
Insane. And some of them are massive, right? Like these giant, tactical fixed blades that are just huge. And I think he said he's been working on them for a while for the show.
Yeah.
But
months.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, I always say Shane Seibert, he's a knife maker's maker, man. We're always like, wow, that thing's so cool.
Yes. Yeah, really cool stuff. It reminded me of like a older or earlier Tom Crine table at Blade Show. Like really, this dude brought that many knives?
Just deep with product. Yeah.
Yes.
So you're saying Tom is not as good anymore?
Speaking of Tom Crine,
a former shadow of himself. Is that what
are
you're
we
saying?
gonna have to do to get that dude to come out to our show? I was hoping he would be here so I could put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Mark, what are we going to have to do, bro?
Trunk show. Friday night trunk show.
Shanghai him?
Yep.
Yeah.
Friday night trunk show. He would love everything around it and everything about the show. Yeah. But you got to get it. Well, I guess you can't do it Friday
I don't want him
night.
to come anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't want him to come
Never
anymore.
Mind.
We have Birch. That's fine. They're, same. So,
Birch was off touring the wilds of Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, hopefully you guys had FOMO, but family time is always key.
Guy's like in Ireland. He's not having FOMO.
Oh, he is.
I was pretty busy.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think Tom would absolutely love it. He would totally dig the whole thing. Every bit about it.
Just for the hang. He doesn't have to sell knives. Just come hang.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Mm-hmm. All right. We talked about gun guys. I think that's a really interesting dynamic of the show and very cool. And then kind of the highlight, right? The social piece at the end, the whole head out to the beach. And I heard such glowing reviews of that experience, and it was super, super, super nice.
Yep, and big shout out to CRKT for sponsoring that this year.
Yeah.
They stepped up and put on quite the lovely after party. So we appreciate those guys big time.
Yeah, they definitely did. That was a really fun time. That whole like come out of the show, grab some food, head out to the beach. That was just a nice experience.
Yeah, that's the thing that like whenever we talk about changing venues, we're like, how can we capture the magic of that? You know what I mean?
Right. That's hard to beat.
It's so hard to beat because it's like, I mean, where else in America can you do like beachside fires? I don't know of any place, that's like you can just, and if you look at the beach, you can just see, I don't know, maybe, just 60 fires all over the beach, everyone in their own group, right, doing whatever. As far as you can see on the coast, you can see little campfires,
Yeah.
people lighting off fireworks, and it's you don't ever get to see that anywhere. And so whenever we decide, like, hey, should we go to like this place for the show, but like, what about after? What do we do after that can capture that magic? Like, it's so hard because it's also very close to the venue, right, where you can just walk
Yes.
from your hotel and drunkenly walk back if you want to, and not worry about getting robbed. Because
Right.
if we decided to do it like at a haunted hotel at Astoria, then we would have to do an after party somewhere else where people will have to get in their cars, drive,
Yeah.
or Uber, and try to find parking. And it would just be a very loud, I don't know, bar or whatever, right? And
Yep.
I feel like that makes the show less. It diminishes it, right? So it's like, what can we do to capture the magic? So we're like, at least maybe we can, until we try to figure out something that we can compare to that, we need to maybe just keep it here for a little while, Yeah, and it's at the beach where everyone just kind of chills, right? And so
Yes.
people can just have meaningful conversations with their favorite makers, or have their kids build sandcastles or make s'mores. Or I think my kids ate like 9 s'mores each. It was a bad idea, but it was great, and I don't even know how long people stayed out there. I don't even know.
It's pretty
gotta
late.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some people said that they were gonna stay out there all night, and so
Yeah.
it's and it was a little bit cloudier this year, right? A little bit. It wasn't I didn't have that clear skies, but it was still a lot of fun out there on the beach. It was just a good chance for everyone just to relax.
Yeah.
Or even more, just
a
kind
good
of
wind
enjoy the
down.
environment. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Good wind down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so looking back overall, you guys sound like you're pretty happy with how it went. And certainly everybody I talked to seemed to be happy with their experience. So, 4 thumbs up from you guys.
You guys know me,
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
always want to strive to make it a better show.
Yeah.
And we take each show. I mean, we're new at this. No one's, this is
Yeah.
a learning experience, like I said at the top of the show. So, we have some things that we want to do that I think will make it a little bit smoother for everybody, and at the same time still capture the vibes that are making the show what it is. And just like everything else in life, with our careers and our crafts and our families, we're striving to get it tighter and better, and learn from each iteration of the show, and come back a little bit better the next time around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, a lot of listeners might not know, but, I talk to these guys pretty regularly, as far as Birch and Michael and Tom and Mark. We have a group chat, and every year I always say, I'm not doing this show anymore. This is the last time. And you guys see my posts all the time when I'm complaining. And a lot of times it's because of just the stress of doing that and trying to make everyone happy. And obviously you can't do that, but it's just extremely difficult to try to just deal with people who it happens in every industry, but people that are can never be satisfied with what you do. Like, they'll always find something to complain about, something to hate all the time. And so those are like the life suckers that make me not want to do the show anymore. You know what I mean? And so,
Right.
but when we had our dinner, right, that Friday, when we always get together and it's all a bunch of us,
Yeah.
and getting together, I'm always like, oh yeah, this is why I did it, just to see all my friends again,
Yeah.
And so, and there's those moments that I really appreciate, like, oh wow, we're doing something special here, and I'm so thankful for our friends that believe in us and just show up, right? So, yeah, that's my attitude behind it, where it's like, hey, yeah, in the middle of it, it's always 2 thumbs down. I'm like,
Right.
I'm not doing this shitty shit.
Wait.
For the shitty
Hold on
people.
a minute. Let me just interrupt right here. So you mean to tell me that the Mark of the Maker podcast crew assist me in talking Billy off the fucking cliff every year before the show?
Yes.
I gotta talk this motherfucker off the cliff.
Yeah.
Like, bro, it's gonna be good, man. We're cool. People are gonna complain. We're gonna do what we do. Well, you know,
Yeah.
and he's like, okay, I don't want to do this show next year. This might be the last show.
Right,
Come on,
right.
bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We just gonna it's gonna be what it is, man. We're gonna put in the work, and whatever comes out of it is what it's gonna be.
It's
So
true. I'm a maker as well, and so I'm always and when it comes to that, I can't help but be a tortured artist sometimes, and thinking that it's not going to be successful, or people who are unhappy, making me think that it's not going to be successful. It just kind of puts a cloud, over this whole thing sometimes. And I'm like, why am I working so hard for people that won't appreciate it? So, but again, once I have that dinner and I see all you guys, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It was all worth it. No matter what heartache or frustrations I have, it's worth it to see my people. So,
Yeah, I mean, it clearly, like we've talked about this in each of the times we've chatted about the show, right? This is kind of an interesting, and one of the reasons we like to do this episode about this particular show is because I think it's very interesting for people to hear more about, behind the candelabra, as it were, on like how exactly does this happen, right? And what are some of the challenges you face, right? And we've talked about that in previous shows, but I think that piece of it's interesting for people who come to shows to at least know or understand a little bit, right? That it's a fuck ton of work to make this happen, and in a ton of planning and everything else, and stress with you guys, right? Has it gotten any easier? Do you feel like you're starting to hit a groove with the show? It sounded a little bit like at the beginning of this conversation, like, okay, yeah, maybe we're kind of hitting the mark a little bit. Sure, things to tweak, but maybe not as hard as it was when you had to do the whole thing from ground up in the shipyard.
But about 10 minutes ago, I talked about learning from the past show.
Yeah,
So this year we got an earlier jump on everything. Like we talked basically after the holidays ended, and we were like, okay, so these are the things we need to change. Let's start making phone calls. Let's start doing this. So we got a better jump on it this year, and we're able to knock some things out well in advance, so that even when we had a couple little minor delays, like, we need to do more work on the website that ended up being significantly more expensive than we thought, but we really beefed up the website.
Yeah.
But it took longer to do that. But even with the delays and stuff like that, we were still in great shape to be ready to launch mid-March, which was kind of our target. So, there's always going to be, piggybacking on what Billy's talking about, there's always going to be people that aren't happy with how we're doing the thing. But, it is what it is. If don't come to the show. I mean, and that's not said from a place of arrogance. That's just said from a place of we're doing the best that we can do. And if our show is not working for you and the way we do it, no hard feelings. It's probably not the show for you,
Right.
But still a ton of work, and Billy and I are learning how to navigate it as a team and figure out where, there's certain things that Billy has to kind of take charge on. Billy's kind of the liaison on other things, and we're learning where we can kind of split up the load each year. So I can help him with some things, and I've kind of I would like to take more off Billy's plate with dealing with attendees, so that he can just focus on the makers. So I think that's one way that we're going to change.
Yeah,
doing stuff next year. But we have a pretty good working, relationship through this. So we're learning how to, if someone needs to step in and do something, we do it. It's definitely easier this year, but it's still a lot of work. I mean, putting up a show is a lot of work, and we all have careers.
Yeah.
When I get done with this show, I'm like, damn, why am I smoked for like a couple days after the show? And it's not even about physical work. It's just, excuse me, the mental, you just feel it's a good exhaustion. I'll put it like that. It's like, wow, okay, we pulled that shit off, and we're excited about doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the strange thing is like, oh yeah, I don't have to make anything for this show, but I still feel the same way as if I exhibited at a show. At
Yeah.
the end, I'm just like, oh, all right, it's done. You know what I mean? And so the exhaustion is still very, very similar. And, you know, whereas you prepare for, if you're a maker for a show, usually 1 to 2 months in advance, this is like the same kind of stress, but maybe half a year plus,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
just in smaller increments and trying to get everything to work, trying to get door prizes. And by the way, what other show gives as many door prizes as we do? Come on,
Right.
son. Come on. I gave away guns, silencers.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Come on, son. But
Legally.
anyway, yeah, legally, of course.
Legally,
right.
right.
We didn't give any child a gun or a silencer. And so allegedly. Just kidding. Yeah, it's yeah, it just wears you out, you know. And so yeah, hopefully, you know, we, as far as like, I think the administrative stuff, we kind of are getting down now, because the first few years we were always like, I think we're gonna do a show here, maybe we'll move it around and do it here and there and just make it a lot of fun. But all of that, it just invites chaos into your life, right? So much
Right.
like relearning how to organize a thing, you know. And so now that it's been Seaside for 2 years, we're like, oh, that takes kind of a load off our plate, knowing where it's gonna be, and they
Yeah.
know how we like the show being run, and so they're very accommodating. And we might,
Super accommodating. Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
we
shout
might
out to
send-
them.
yeah, we might send maybe 3 emails to them the whole year, and they're like,
Wow.
all right, we got it. Yeah, and so, and most of it's like a month before. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so it's been really great working with the convention center, and they love having us there, you know. And even some of the workers there are knife guys too. It's so weird, you know. And
Yeah, some of the staff were loving the show.
yeah, and
Yeah.
the business we bring to that city. And you know, I dropped by the Safeway at Seaside, and they were like, where are all these people coming from, all the employees?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh, there's some kind of a knife show going on. I was like, sorry. Sorry, y'all have jobs. Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the city kind of like knows that this is kind of a thing now too, which is insane. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think every year Nick and I are learning, and I think I definitely need to like maybe have every single attendee just kind of, if they need something, to reach out to Nick, so I can just kind of focus more on dealing with the makers and other manufacturers, getting door prizes and things like that. Just so it's like, you know, it's always the one email or the message I get where it's like, oh, I didn't do this even though you told me to. Like, I didn't write my name on the
Yeah,
ticket when I
right,
ordered
right,
it. I'm
right,
like, oh my gosh, I got to go in and
Right.
make notes. And it's like, what am I doing? Kill me now. Right. So,
Right.
so not having to deal with it, because I mean, it comes from the makers too, right? I was like, one more maker asked me what day or what time is a show. I'm like, I'm gonna just, you know, I want to have something ready for you, right? So next year,
Oh, boy.
I have a bear trap in the sand and then put you in there, yeah, it's so that itself gets stressful, you know. And
Sure.
the funny thing is, makers are, you know, dealing with makers has been like, I always say, it's like wrangling a bag full of cats, because some makers are super squared away as far as like administrative wise. You know, they have like, you know, probably a spreadsheet of every knife they make, and
Birch just
and then-
cringed.
and then other makers are just like willy nilly, like, you know, just like they do whatever. They don't pay attention to any of the instructions about when the show's at. So it's always like you have to hold their hand and be like, you fly to this airport in Portland. Okay. And then you have to rent a car
Right.
and then take that to the Oregon coast. Maybe you need to get a GPS unit, right? So it's been like a whole bubble of like different, like basically different artists that I'm dealing with, and some of them are super squared away. Some of them are just like, you know, looking at butterflies in the sky, So that's kind of been like a weird thing, like having to deal with that, some of them are the tortured souls that would like message me and complain about how they can't get things done. I'm like, I don't care, man. Just do it, man. Just do it. So it's been weird, like wrangling like 90 something makers, and all of them have their own quirky uniqueness. And, and some of them are torture artists again, and some of them are super squared away, and they always have to message me about something. So, throughout the year. So
I think you guys mentioned that you like are starting to actually come on the radar with maybe Seaside, obviously, right? Because you have a direct impact in Seaside, but maybe even a little bit in the Portland side of things, right?
Yeah,
with the government or commerce or whatever.
Yeah, so
I mean, you don't have to go into details on that, but I think it's really interesting that they're actually taking notice.
Yeah, so John D'Assis, I think that's how you say his name, the CEO of Benchmade, came to our show, and it's a weird history about why Benchmade they don't exhibit at our show, but we're cool. It's not any kind of bad blood or anything like that. It's just probably not part of their business plan. But when John showed up to our show, like just by himself, not with a team, or I think he had his dog with him or something. And so, I was just talking to him, and he said that the city of Portland reached out to him and 5 other companies to basically make August 24th, which is National Knife Day, and celebrate it and make it a holiday for Portland, and make it, they call it the Portland Knife Center of Excellence, because apparently 50% of knives being sold in America were made here in Oregon.
Nice.
So people don't realize that, right? CRKT's here, Kershaw, Gerber, Leatherman, Benchmade, right? And Shane Seibert. I'm just kidding. And so and Shane, right, with 20 something knives at a show.
Dozens. I like dozens.
Yeah, tens
of knives.
And so they basically made it into, they're doing like an event every August 24th. And John from Benchmade said that he wanted us to come out because of what we're doing for the community, right? Because we're bringing makers from all over the world to Portland and eventually Seaside, right? But ultimately Portland, to do this only tactical knife show that they have here. And so, so they're interested in talking to us, and we'll see what that even means ultimately.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll mean maybe some sort of financial help, and we want to use that money to make our show better, and do maybe some advertising for our show as well. But we're looking at it positively, and we'll see what comes out of it. But hopefully that'd be crazy to have a knife show with some government backing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I think that kind of stat is really cool and interesting, and I think the whole idea that people are taking notice a little bit is cool, right? I mean, I think that's healthy. I didn't actually realize there was a National Knife Day. How did I not know that?
I didn't either. So,
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the reason why people are like, why are you giving away, when I talk to, Kershaw or CRKT and ask them for hundreds of knives to give away. And at first they were like, well, you guys are a custom knife show. Why would people want these? And I said, hey, you guys, those things are like a gateway drug, right? 100%. Any kind of production knife is what get most people into customs eventually. And so, that kid that gets a knife from Nick at the show and that becomes his first pocket knife, that makes an impact. And so when I told them that, and they were like, you're right. And so that's why we've been getting all this support from all these production companies, which I think is like so fantastic, and some of the stuff we got for door prizes were just insane, like $900 mid-tech custom knives or semi-production knives, whatever, flashlights that are like $500. And
Yeah.
Just a lot of cool stuff, and so it's been really cool to have even just those mega companies just support us by giving stuff to give away, because ultimately at the end it's probably, oh my gosh, I want to say probably $30,000 worth of stuff that we give away, and
Yeah.
It's like if it, I think that's also a very key part of the show, because many times at knife shows, people strike out. They don't win their favorite makers lottos or whatever, and they come and they have a good time, but they just like, oh, I spent all this money, I didn't get anything that I wanted. But when they come and they, spend $50 or $100 for a ticket, and they leave with a $400, production knife, they're over the moon already,
Yeah.
and so it's been really interesting just to see what the general knife community in Oregon is willing to help out, and we're trying to get as much backing. I mean, we would love to give out little Leatherman multi-tools next year if they're into it, or even stuff from Gerber, even though their stuff might not be known as the highest quality stuff. It still can be an entry level thing that people get into knives with. So
Heck yeah.
so yeah. And
Yeah.
On top of that, I'll just add on top of that it's also just part of the experience. Like, everybody that's lined up outside gets to come in, check in, and line up to get ready to go into the convention, go on the floor. And while everybody's in line excited, we're coming around with big carts giving away stuff. I mean, that's
Right.
a cool experience. Like, that's people are sitting in line hyped to go in, and then all of a sudden there's a big cart coming with a giant boxes full of giveaway stuff that they get to pick through. That's kind of cool. So that
cool.
adds to the experience.
Yeah, and I think there was certainly a time where I kind of turned my nose up at production knife stuff, and then you realize, whoa, okay, that's what I'm going to keep
in this game.
That's how I got in this game. I'm going to put this in my everyday bag. I'm not going to put my fancy custom knife in my everyday bag.
Right.
You know what I mean? The
I'll
one I
let
leave
my
in the
wife
car.
have this one, right? I will put this in my wife's purse.
Or like you said, I mean, I don't know how many knives. I've been very fortunate to have companies and people give some production stuff over the years, and I don't know how many knives I've handed off to Boy Scout age kid, right? With the nod from their parents or whatever. And that's just, I think that's super fun. It's super fun for me. And for them,
Absolutely.
it's totally a gateway thing. And ultimately, I think people who are getting handed something as a freebie, right? Thanks to a big company like CRKT, there's goodwill there, right? There's like that gesture, I think in some cases probably gets overlooked, but I think in a lot of cases it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, if I need a hatchet or if I just need a kick around knife, maybe I'll go to these guys because it was really cool what they did, right? I think that comes back around for sure.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was just texting back and forth with Sean earlier before, because I just had a buddy come over and bring his 13-year-old son,
Yeah.
who is just getting hooked on knives and is like ecstatic about them and has become the little knife expert all of a
Right.
sudden, and so they came over and looked at my collection, and he left here with 3 knives,
Yeah.
a fixer and 2 little, a little traditional and, a little flipper. And just to see, I mean, we all remember those days of
Yes.
learning about knives, no matter what age we were.
Yep.
And it is absolutely the gateway to the next level. So it's super
Yep.
exciting to see that in people that come to our show with their kids, or newer people in the community, or this little dude that came over to the house today. And so it's a super cool thing for us to have these big companies that are willing to donate this to help kind of feed that passion. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's why we're all that's why we're all on this podcast right now.
That's how we ended up here for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
And like CRKT, I can't thank them enough. Like even when I have, let's say, like there's gonna be a party for my little kid, my youngest son's like school, and I'm like, yo, CRKT, give me a box of those wooden slip joints. So I'm going around giving all these kids in my kids' class all these wooden knives, and they were like, don't get kicked out, don't get in trouble from the school board. But I was like, I don't care, because some kid's going to take this like little wooden slip joint and eventually find knives. And so they've never once said no way or pay for them even, and so it's been really cool. Like, they understand what I'm trying to do and what we're trying to do, and so big shout outs to them.
There's a lot of good human being stuff in the middle of it, right? That's what I really like. It's like, it's just people being good to each other, right? that we need more of that in this world these days, especially these days. So yeah, absolutely. I really like that part.
Yeah, and that's the, at the end of the day, when we put a button in all this, it's what we always say about the knife community is we come for the knives, stay for the people. So without getting all mushy about it, that's what it is, though. That's the fact. The knives are one part of it, but the biggest part of it is all the fellowship that comes out of it and the lasting close friendships that everybody in this community ends up making. It's a whole nother, you got your family and you got your knife family.
Yep.
So that's what it is.
For real. Mm-hmm. All right, here's the kicker. See, we might catch Billy early enough that he's going to say yes, but PNWCI 2025?
Yeah.
Will there be one?
August 2nd.
Oh, not
Boom.
Just a yes, but a date.
August 2.
August 2.
August 2.
Billy's hyperventilating over there.
No, it doesn't exist until July 31st. So, doesn't exist. So,
August
but
2, 2025. Nice.
Yep. And then we'll have tickets go on sale probably in March or February, so people can plan, and because you want to give enough time so people can, get cheaper flights and their hotels. Some people, once this podcast comes out, people are going to book their hotels for next year for sure already, or Airbnbs.
Right.
And that's a smart thing to do because, the price of the hotels is not based off our show like a lot of places would be, right? Like, know how places will bump up their prices because of spring break or whatever, right? Or some event coming into town like SHOT Show. But people don't realize that the Oregon coast is, they make all their money in the summer and the rest of the year.
Spot.
Yeah.
And the rest of the year, there is a ghost town. Right, a lot of restaurants aren't even open during the winter because it's just overcast and too cold or rainy or windy. So it's better to get in prices, good prices now by booking a year in advance, and you can always cancel whatever. But the prices won't be going down. It's not because of our show; it's because everyone's escaping to the coast, and that's the only time they make money. So seasonal coastal town, right? We have it in Michigan too, with the lakes all the way around. And my parents live in a little coastal tourist town, right? It's very quaint and very cute and nice and tiny, and like they roll the sidewalks up come end of September, right? Like, it's done. No ice cream shops are open.
Yeah, right. Then maybe the coffee shop stays open, right? But not much else. So, yeah. Awesome.
Right.
August 2.
Well, we appreciate you guys having us on here again. We appreciate the support 100%.
I know it's like the third time
always
now.
A pleasure.
Sean, it's always great to see you, and I appreciate you coming out, and you too, Mark. It's been too long seeing you, Mark. So
it was very nice.
You had a whole set of hair last time I saw you. So, whole head of hair. Whole mouth of teeth, all of it.
Rocking Mr. Clean.
Yes, very much in the Mr. Clean vibe these days. But
yes, indeed.
I had to tell my wife that you were a ginger.
Oh yeah, it's not obvious anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah.
It got a little less obvious before I cut it anyway, but it was getting more of like white and a little bit of ginger.
Yeah.
I think if I grew it back, that's Amy's theory. She's like, you probably shouldn't try growing it back because it might just all come in white. I'm like, yeah, it might.
I also felt bad, Mark.
If the arm hair is any indication.
But I was going to say, I felt bad, Mark, that you had your grandkid while you were here, and so for the show,
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah.
that probably bummed you out a little bit.
Amy
So.
had one foot on a plane to get home
Yeah.
when that happened, but she managed to stick it out. But yeah, grandson came, and yeah, that was a surprise, but that's how life goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, August 2, you'll be in like Egypt or something next year, Birch.
Possibly.
The Maldives, maybe. Your family got a taste of that overseas vacation. They're out.
We've
Yeah,
only
it's
got
the
so
French
many years
Riviera
before-
or nothing.
That's
Well,
right.
they hate being with us, so we got to take advantage.
That's the truth. That's the
That's true.
truth.
I
Yeah,
like,
there's
I like
nothing wrong
Bali
with it.
I like Bali for the Birches next year.
Bali.
I
there
like
you
it
go.
too.
Nice. Maybe a little Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We should talk, Michael. We should talk. We should plan your vacation next year. We should talk.
Too funny. All right. Well, I think that's it. Michael, Sean, you guys have any other questions before we wrap her up?
I don't think so.
No.
I just kind of been sitting back and listening.
Yeah, you got the full recap, like the inside scoop.
Tom's not invited next year. Tom's officially banned.
Yeah. We'll find a way.
He's only 12 hours away from me right now, and he didn't even come visit. So,
Yeah.
This is
What a
borderline
jerk.
disrespect, honestly.
yeah.
It is fairly disrespectful, I have to say.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you shouldn't see what he messaged me if you want to see the disrespect.
I can only imagine. I
Yeah.
can only imagine.
Gee whiz.
I was trying to have a Tom crying dunk tank every year.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't show up. I was like, the people would love it, and then our pieing station where we just throw pies at Tom. But
Right. I think
doesn't
it was
wanna do
when
it.
you spun it as the piranha filled dunk tank. That's what maybe had him hesitating a little bit.
you got to have some kind of risk.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, what is life if it's safe all the time?
Right. What are you going to put in the dunk tank? Warm water? Heck no.
That's what I'm saying.
All those freebie knives.
Ah,
I was going to fill it with Arby's beef and cheddar. He'll probably come.
yes.
Yeah.
Dunk tank full of beef and cheddar. Yeah, I think Tom actually might take a dive into a tank of knives. Knowing how many knives he's got at the house, it probably does every day he goes home.
That's how he showers.
Yes. Yes.
Duck style.
Yes.
But every year we're like, Tom doesn't want to come. He hates us. I'm like, I was like, I'll open up the convention center on Friday for you to be in there by yourself selling stuff. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, all right, you're dead to me.
Maybe we
You're
have to
dead to
do
me, Tom.
maybe you got to do a Friday daytime event.
That's another thing. Maybe we should do an event as well, right?
Like a
So,
mixer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's Tom set up in the corner, hawking knives.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad idea. We can hire like a food truck or something,
Yeah.
and get some live music. Some Nick's band can come play.
Absolutely
And
not.
Catalina wine mixer.
yeah. So I love throwing Nick out there, and Nick's like, nope, I'm not doing
Absolutely
music. I'm not doing music.
I'll tell you what. If Tom Crying comes to the show, no, let me shut up. I'm not.
Yeah,
What?
I was gonna say.
Can
What?
say it.
Nick can just hook up with a local seaside crew. Nick Rolfe and the Seaside Swingers.
Oh. That would be
You can
amazing.
play guitar, Mark.
Yeah.
Good
You know what I
JB.
mean?
Good
That's right.
Jason on the guitar.
Yeah.
We could just put a family band together.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you could play a little diddle called Open Bid. So,
Jason's got the wheelie wheelie wee guitar thing going. He's the man.
but yeah, maybe we need to do an event like the day before, right? Because I know. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that Grace Horn did a class after too,
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yes.
a scissor
We gotta
making
talk about
class,
that. Yeah.
which I was so bummed I couldn't do because I was just gassed and had all this family in town, and so. But I'm definitely taking it next year because it looks so cool. I came a day and just kind of observed in the back, and it was just super cool. When do you ever get a chance for a master to teach you how to make scissors, right?
Right.
And so she's looking to hopefully come back next year and do it again. So, yeah, it was super cool. She did it at the Touches shop, which is kind of close to the airport in Portland. So had Jeremy Marsh take it, Brian Efros, and Luke Swenson and his wife both took the class, and they had really positive things to say about it. So I think she's going to do it again next year. So we'll have to do an event before that. So
it was really cool that Grace was there. My wife got one of those pairs of those little teeny tiny scissors.
So
she
cool.
was super stoked about that.
Yeah,
So
let me
cool.
tell you about those. Let me tell you about your lovely wife and those little scissors and what she was trying to do to my hair with those scissors.
She was being coerced.
Oh yeah.
She
Yeah,
had
well,
Franny.
a certain south of the border friend.
There were people that were encouraging her behavior.
To test out said tiny scissors on
Right.
somebody's hair.
Right. Yeah, I had a really nice conversation with Grace during the show, and then at the beach thing, we talked for a long time. She shared a couple of absolutely hilarious stories, so we'll have to have her on, and I'll have to have her recap a couple of those because they were really, really, really funny.
She
Big shout out to
just
Grace
went
for
back
making
to the UK.
Just now,
Like,
yeah.
Just now. She was here this whole time.
She was like on the
Crazy.
Grace Horn World Tour, America Tour.
Yeah. She went from Oregon all the way to Maine,
Yeah.
Portland to Portland.
Nice.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Crazy.
Big shout out, Grace, for coming out and supporting our show. We appreciate
Heck
you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And she was like, wasn't sure she was gonna make it either because
Right.
literally she's flying across
Yep.
the sea. Yeah, we definitely need to brainstorm, Nick, and see maybe we'll do like an event before. Maybe we'll have other makers show up that only sell on Friday and do a pop up. We'll see.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool. Maybe we can do
Be
it in
fun.
Portland or whatever. So
We'll do a live Tom Crying Q&A session.
There you go.
Ah.
He loves the Q&A.
He
Yes.
does love
That
the
might
Q&As.
entice him too. Yeah,
Do a
we could
live
line up
Q&A.
a string of Tom Crying bait, and he
I
might
think
appear
so.
on the scene.
what would be the bait?
5'11" clothing.
5'11" with the zip off legs.
Yep. We can just stage pants and shirts and stuff along the way until he gets to a table where
Yeah.
he answers questions. I think
Exactly.
that's a strong idea.
Just drop a beef and cheddar on the floor every couple hundred feet.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Smart.
He'd be
Smart. That's
All
true.
right.
That's true.
Wheels are turning.
Yeah, that's true.
in. All right. Let's say thank you to our sponsors. So Patreon, Giant Mouse, Terzuola, Knife Joy, Paladin 33. We are very fortunate to have some folks who were super happy to come on board with us. Josh from Paladin 33 was very excited to get in there with us. So we appreciate all you folks. Thanks for sticking with us. Some of these guys have been with us for a long, long time, especially our Patreon crew. So thanks all for your support. And August 2, I'm marking my calendar. Actually, if I had my clacky keyboard, you'd hear me typing in airbnb.com.
Also, thanks for letting us advertise, Mark, and the guys. And
Yeah, for sure.
one of the things we didn't mention, but we'll mention it now, is that every time we do advertise a market and maker for a show, we'll release 2 VIP tickets that you can purchase because the VIPs that get sold out within an hour. So in order for some people to get it, you gotta listen to your show, and whenever we advertise, you'll get 2 VIP tickets will be available for purchase. So
There you go.
so we appreciate you guys. We love you guys, and thanks for all that you do. So
we appreciate the support.
can't believe it's the 3rd time we're talking about this show.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's been a lot more laid back and a lot less stressful. And so hopefully it'll get better every year. And so far Nick and I are having fun doing it, and as long as we continue to have fun, we'll still do it. So until I change my mind in half the year. So
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you. Oh, wait. There's more. So we recorded a bunch of stuff at the show. You heard Grace intro us at the beginning of this episode, and so we have more than an hour of sounds from the floor. So Sean and I and whoever else is available are going to get together and put together a Sounds from the Floor of the Pacific Northwest show episode. And I don't know if that'll be next. It probably will be, but we'll figure something out, and we'll get you some little bit of super short interview stuff that we did with people there. And there were some very good conversations and on a surprising number of topics. So it made for a very fun time dragging the microphone around, Sean and I doing the roving reporter thing. And there's good stuff in there. So we're going to assemble something and get it out to everybody.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed going around and getting the sound bites, and it was a good excuse to roam and talk to friends. And
yeah,
I think
it
it'll
was
come
fun.
across. I think you guys will really enjoy it.
Yeah, it should be good. Okay, now for real. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, folks.
There you go.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account, at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birchtreeblades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram at msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.